Hello, my name is Michel Majdalani, and I'll be presenting on behalf of myself, Michel Maili, and Ghazi Islam, the Recasting Sustainable Collaborations Through Postcolonial Perspectives, Diaspora and Use, Organizing, and Epistemic Reconfiguration. Now, before we get started, here's some food for thought. In particular, our potential theoretical contribution to postcolonial organizing literature. We recognize the need for a deeper, perhaps more granular engagement. Now, if there are any audience suggestions in terms of more nuanced gaps or perhaps angles in the body of literature, we welcome that gladly. In terms of targeted publication outlet, we are considering organization, and we welcome any other suggestions. Now, the outline is pretty much a traditional outline, with the exception that we'll be starting with the research context of the study. At the country level, the research context happens to be the teeny small little country of Lebanon. That's part of the MENA or the Levant or the Middle East, whichever way you want to call it. That country has a very rich and dense history. Ever since throughout its history, the country has had a succession of imperial and colonial occupations, including for about 400 years that of the Ottomans, and that was followed by the French for about 22 years. At the same time, there's a history of emigration, repatriation, and mass migrations, with succession of wars fostering all kinds of diasporic networks. Unfortunately, Lebanon ranks now very high on the Fragile State Index, more so of a failed state, and can be considered as a hostile environment, especially in the wake of the bombing of the ports of Beirut of August 6, 2020. With respect to the organization, we are talking about a very strong anchor organization, Lebanon and the MENA region. This is the American University of Beirut Medical Center and the AUB Alumni Diasporic Network. In essence, AUB is a private, non-sectarian, and independent university with a liberal art tradition dated back to 1866, when the first missionaries from the United States came to Lebanon. It has been ranked as a top-ranked university in the entire Arab world. And the AUB Medical Center has cultivated over 24 international partnerships over the years and collaborations with very prestigious U.S. medical organizations. We'll be focusing on 3 collaborations with AUB. The first one is Riley Children's Hospital at Indiana University. The second is the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in Manhattan, New York. And the third is St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. Some key definitions of interest to us are the highly skilled individuals, which happens to be senior managers, specialized technicians. In a way, we've witnessed the departure of those highly skilled from Lebanon, a developing country, to the United States, a developed country, at an appreciable rate, something that's being called in the literature the brain drain phenomena. And that in of itself is an existential threat to those remaining in the country of origin, with their overall welfare decreasing. A very unique sample of our highly skilled professional are the highly skilled diasporic medical professionals. Happens to be residing at U.S. institutions, who focuses on the relations they forge between host countries, but also demonstrating strong interlocking loyalty to both home and host countries' organizations. We call those the dual diasporic agent, or the DDAs. With respect to the literature, we have focused on the intersection between the diaspora and postcolonial subjectivity. In a way, understanding diaspora requires an acknowledging of the foundational postcolonial subjectivity that precedes it. And a lot of the skilled workers from a diaspora are often heirs to a postcolonial legacy. So in a way, diaspora and hybridity are inherently coextensive concepts in identity construction processes that are caught up in master narratives inherited from the colonizer. Another thread of the literature that is of an interest to us is the intersection between diaspora and epistemic reconfiguring through organizing practices. According to Mignolo, the epistemic violence creates dependency, defined and enacted by coloniality of power. For Nielsen, epistemic violence can be understood in terms of the allocation of subaltern groups to lower positions in the dominant hierarchy. Now, our research gap focuses on theorizing on the importance of postcolonial legacy in epistemic reconfiguring organizing practices and outcomes. As such, we advance the following research question. How do postcolonial aspects of diaspora shape sustainable collaborations, enabling these collaborations to reconfigure epistemic practices and power relations between home and host country actors? So we follow an inductive qualitative approach in our research design, did a very dense data collection via semi-directive interviews, ethnographic observation, and the gathering of archival data. The data analysis follows Joya et al., in essence, starting with initial data coding using Atlas to maintain the integrity of the first order, then developing a comprehensive list of first order terms, organizing that into second order themes, and then assembling the second order themes into data structure. Now, the findings are represented schematically in this representation. We have two data structure, the internal self-organizing motivations that in a way drives through postcolonial diasporic subjectivity, the external organizing attitude and practices, which happens to be the second data structure. Now, we have four supporting second order themes for the internal organizing motivations: growth orientation for home country, placing home country on equal footing with the US, fulfilling self-identity needs, and sustaining country organization autonomy. For the second data structure, the external organizing attitude and practices, we also have four second order themes: actor integration activities, mobilization activities, advocacy attitude, and agency building attitude. So that's symbolic and material rewards that leads to the enabling of the center periphery organization collaborations. Now, we are making at least three contributions in this paper. First, in reference to the home and host country collaboration, the post-colonial diasporic agents enable us to refine our understanding of how collaborations between organization in a home and host country are bound by those DDAs, individual organizational actors. The second is the organization as country metonymy, part of the whole symbolic value of the organization for reconceptualizing, reconfiguring an idealized fictitious home country. The third contribution pertains to sustainable diasporic collaborations through postcolonial subjectivity. In a way, the DDA engagement is deployed to recast that epistemic power throughout the organization and shift the home country organization from periphery to center. Now, central to the notion of sustainability in diasporic collaboration is thus the key actors' subjective connection to their postcolonial roots and their use of to reconfigure power relations. Now, here's some questions for you. As we theorize better on the relationship between diaspora, postcoloniality, and organization, as we articulate the relationship between, on one hand, the diasporic literature, and on the other, the organization theory literature, how can we do that? Should we focus more on the epistemic violence of postcolonial subjectivity in the reconfiguration recasting processes of diasporic actors, or focus more on why postcolonial subjectivity itself is important to understand the professional motives and organizing practices of the highly skilled diasporic? At the end, I'd like to thank you for listening, and please keep in touch. So long.